So we start with the circulation, and today we will be dealing with what is blood coagulation and what is the mechanism of blood coagulation. Basically, coagulation or blood clotting refers to the process by which the blood will be forming a fibrin thread work. Here you can see that in case of blood, there is a protein called by the name fibrinogen. This fibrinogen is normally present in a dissolved form or a soluble form. So when this fibrinogen is converted into an insoluble form, it becomes a net-like structure. And that net-like structure will be blocking a lot of WBC, RBC, etc. and forming a clot or a clump-like structure. And that is what we call by the name blood clotting or blood coagulation basically. So the basic event in any blood clotting is conversion of this plasma protein, namely fibrinogen, into fibrin. In the case of fibrinogen, it is a soluble protein, that is, it is dissolved in the blood. And in case of fibrin, it is an insoluble protein. So this is the basic difference between fibrinogen and fibrin. So the primary event that is happening in blood clotting is basically this conversion of fibrinogen into fibrin. Now, after this conversion, you can see that different types of blood cells, platelets, will be get blocked or stuck in these fibrin threads and forming the blood clot. Now, basically there are three events in the case of blood clotting. The first event is known by the name vasoconstriction, and second one is known by the name platelet plug formation, and there is also a process called clotting cascade. These are the three major events which are taking place. So when there is some kind of injury, for example, a part of your hand or a finger is got injured, or there is an injury, a lot of blood will be flowing out from your body or losing from your body. To prevent that, the first step the body will be doing is that vasoconstriction. Vaso means blood vessel, constriction means contraction. So here you can see that this is the normal case of an artery. This is the normal diameter of an artery. If artery is in this position, more blood will be coming out, and during the process of vasoconstriction, the size of the artery will be getting reduced. So the diameter of the artery will become smaller, so that little amount of blood can only pass through that. So that is the first step or first adaptation of the body during an injury. So when there is an injury, the immediate response is vasoconstriction. The body will be trying to contract this diameter of the artery and veins, so that less blood will be moving out of the body. So that is one process or one adaptation by which our body is trying to reduce the amount of blood lost from our body, and that process is known by the name vasoconstriction. Here you can see that when an injury occurs, vessel wall constrict, causing reduced blood flow. So in order to reduce the amount of blood which is lost from your body, the body will be constricting. The blood vessels will be contracting or constricting at the place or site of injury. Now, second event is known by the name platelet plug formation. Platelets, you might have heard about that. You know what is an RBC, and you maybe also studied about WBC. And similar to RBC and WBC, there is a type of cell, but which will not contain any nucleus inside, is known by the name platelets. They are millions in number in 1 ml of blood. So platelets are actually formed from bone marrow cells also. So these platelets are also a part of our blood. And when there is an injury, at the site of the injury, all these platelets will be coming together and forming a small clump or a small block like thing. And that block or clump will be preventing the loss of blood from the site of injury or from the place or site of injury. So this coming together or aggregation of platelets at the site of injury is known by the name platelet plug formation, or simply the platelets. That is, many thousands or lakhs of plate cells will be sticking together with each other, forming a small block or a small plug at the site of injury, preventing the loss of blood. So platelets also activate the process which causes fibrin clot to form, and that is known as secondary homeostasis. So second function of the platelets is that they will be promoting or activating a process called fibrin. Here you can see that the first step I told, this is the basic process in any blood clotting, fibrinogen getting converted into fibrin. And this process of conversion of fibrinogen into fibrin is also stimulated by the presence of this platelet. That is what I mentioned here. Platelets also activate or stimulate the process which causes fibrin to form from fibrinogen. So that is a second process of the platelet. So first event is the vasoconstriction, by which a small amount of blood loss can be prevented. Second comes the platelet, many platelets will be coming and blocking that site, by which further loss of blood can be prevented. But even by these two mechanisms, still lot of blood will be losing from your body. So ultimate mechanism by which a loss of blood can be prevented from your body is by forming a structure known by the name by forming a structure called blood clot. So that is what we are going to discuss now. So the third event is the clot formation. So platelets alone are not enough to secure the damage in a blood vessel, because they have its sort, because it is a very primitive mechanism by which the loss of blood is actually prevented. So the best and the most successful mechanism for preventing the loss of blood is the formation of a clot. So how this clot is actually formed? Earlier we discussed the first and the major step is that in any clot formation, fibrinogen will be converted into fibrin. Now what happens during that process? Though it appears to be a simple process, actually it is a very complicated process which is actually backed by several events, and the final step is actually the conversion of fibrinogen into fibrin. And the formation of clot depends on several substances. And most of the time these substances are proteins present in your blood, and these proteins are known by the name clotting factors. So the proteins or any substance that aid or help in clot formation is known by the name clotting factor. Now these factors are designated by Roman numerals from 1 to 30. That is normally 13 clotting factors are there, or proteins associated with the clotting are there. Now its mechanism of action is that it is normally acting in a cascade manner. That is, if clotting factor 1 is activated, that will be activating 2. When 2 is activated, that will be activating 3. 3 will be activating 4. Like that, it will be activating in a series of manner. That mechanism is what we call by the name clotting cascade. Step-by-step activation or step-by-step stimulation is known by the name clotting cascade. So the end result of this cascade is that fibrinogen is a soluble plasma protein. This term you have to keep in your mind. A soluble plasma protein is cleaved. Cleaved means split into fibrin and a non-soluble or insoluble plasma protein. And this fibrin protein stick together, and that will be forming the clot. So clotting cascade can occur to two separate pathways, and these pathways are known by the name intrinsic pathway, and also known by another mechanism is the extrinsic pathway. So now we have to see how this intrinsic pathway as well as the extrinsic pathway will be working. Here you can see that there are two basic mechanisms known by the name extrinsic pathway, intrinsic pathway, and there is finally a common pathway is there. So basically in the case of extrinsic pathway is normally triggered or activated by external trauma. Trauma means injury, in any kind of external injury that cause blood to escape. For example, some minor minor cut is happening on your skin. A small amount of blood will be lost from your body. That process is actually an external trauma. So the external trauma will be triggering the extrinsic pathway, and this one advantage is that this is more faster and quicker, and it involves a factor known by the name clotting factor 7. Now we will see what are the major clotting factors. Here you can see that there are 13 clotting factors, and here this is the name of the factor: fibrinogen, prothrombin. Here you can the number of the protein. First clotting factor is known as fibrinogen, second is known as the prothrombin, third is known as tissue factor, fourth is the calcium ions, fifth pro-accelerant, then pro-convertin is there, anti-hemophilic factor is there, plasma thromboplastin component is there, Stewart factor is there. So up to fibrin stabilizing factor is. So these are the 13 factors, and this is the nature. Most of them are plasma proteins, and you can also see that from which organ most of these plasma proteins are actually produced from the liver. Then some are produced from the plasma and some from bone marrow also. And here also you can see the main function of each of the clotting factors. So just keep this in your mind, even get an idea of what are the major clotting factors, and if you are able to write in a serial manner, that will be very good. So that is regarding that. So in case of extrinsic protein, extrinsic pathway, it involves clotting factor 7. What is the clotting factor 7? This is the proconvertin. Proconvertin, both extrinsic and intrinsic pathway, this factor is involved. So that is the importance of clotting factor 7, and that is present in the case of both pathway. Now we will see what is an intrinsic pathway. Normally this intrinsic pathway is activated or stimulated by trauma. Trauma means injury inside your vascular system, that is within your blood vessel. If some kind of injury, internal injury is taking place, that will be triggering this pathway known by the name intrinsic pathway. Now and activated by the platelets, exposed endothelium means the inner lining of your artery or vein is known as the endothelium, or presence of some chemicals or collagen itself. So these all will be stimulating or triggering the second pathway, which is the intrinsic pathway. The difference is that in here this is a slower pathway. Here you can see this is a more quicker or faster pathway. Now there are four important factors are involved. One is clotting factor 12, clotting factor 11, clotting factor 9, and clotting factor 8. So these are the major, this is the clotting factor 8, that is anti-hemophilic factor, plasma thromboplastin component or PTC, then plasma thromboplastin antecedent, and Hageman factor. So these are the four factors which are uniquely present in the case of the intrinsic pathway. So the difference between extrinsic pathway and the intrinsic pathway is that one is caused by external injury, other is caused by internal injury. That is a basic difference. Now after this so the third pathway, that is which we call by the name common pathway. In the case of common pathway, the both pathways meet and finish, and finally helping in the clot formation. Here you can see that three factors are present. One is the factor 1, factor 2, factor 5, and factor 10. You can see that factor 1 is the fibrinogen, factor 2 is the prothrombin, and factor 5 and 10. 5 is the pro-accelerant, and 10 means the Stewart factor. So these are the four proteins which are coming. or playing a role in the issue of the common pathway. Now we will see the diagram of how this is actually taking place. And as I told you earlier, this is taking place in a cascade manner, otherwise known by the name coagulation cascade or clotting cascade. So the blood clotting occurs in a multi-step process known as coagulation cascade, and the process involves many different proteins also, or you can call it as a chain reaction, in which one step will be leading to the second. That is, if one factor is activated, the next factor will be activated. It is like a chain reaction. And in general, each step produces a new protein, and that new protein usually will be acting as an enzyme or a catalyst, triggering the starting of the next step. Now we will see that this is the basic diagram explaining the intrinsic pathway as well as the intrinsic pathway. Here you can see that any kind of damaged surface, here it is external trauma, will be triggering the clotting factor 12 to become converted into 12. What is the 12? Plasma thromboplastic antecedent. That will be triggered to form an activated form of clotting factor 12. And when that is activated, that will be activating clotting factor 11. And 11 will be activated into an activated form of 11. And when that activated 11 is forming, that will be triggering clotting factor 9 to become an activated clotting factor 9, and that will be activating on clotting factor 10, and 10 will be activated into active form of 10. So here 12, 11, 9 and 10, 4 factors are involved. And what is the final event? The formation of an activated clotting factor 10. What is clotting factor 10? It is a Stewart factor. So an active Stewart factor is the end product of this intrinsic pathway. Now you look at this pathway, which is the extrinsic pathway, normally caused by external injury. What happens is that here the clotting factor 7. What is clotting factor 7? Pro-convertin. The pro-convertin will be converted into an active form of here. The pro-convertin will be converted into active pro-convertin, and that will be acting on the Stewart factor, that is a clotting factor 10, and this is also caused by an external trauma. So finally, whether the route is from internal pathway or route is from external pathway, extrinsic pathway, the end product is an active Stewart factor or an active clotting factor 10. Then what happens here? This active clotting factor 10 will be converting a product known by the name prothrombin. It is actually an enzyme-like thing, and this prothrombin will be converted into thrombin. So prothrombin will be an inactive form of that enzyme, and that will be converted into thrombin, which is an active form of enzyme. So thrombin is the actual molecule that is converting fibrinogen to fibrin. So the ultimate event is conversion of fibrinogen to fibrin. For that conversion, they need thrombin. So in order to get the thrombin, all these reaction has to be conducted by your blood, or has to be occurring in your blood. Then only the formation of thrombin will be taking place. So thrombin will be converting fibrinogen to the fibrin, and fibrin will be forming a cross-linked structure, which we call by the name blood clot. So this is here you can see that this is taking place in a step-by manner, multi-chain manner or multi-step manner. That is why we call it by the name clotting cascade. So the meaning of the word clotting cascade is that cascade actually meaning waterfall. So it is happening in a waterfall, like from a higher step it is going to lower step, from that it is again going to next lower step. So here also you can see that it is taking place in a multi-step manner. That is why we call it by the name clotting cascade. Other term is known by the name coagulation cascade. Then, so this is the an idea regarding what are the major events which are taking place in case of a blood clotting, and what is next expected from your syllabus is an idea regarding the cardiovascular diseases. Now we have to study some of the major, like jaundice we have to study, atherosclerosis is there, myocardial infarction is there, thrombus and stroke will be there. And one or two topics we will study now. So regarding the cardiovascular disease, it basically includes disease of the heart. Cardio means heart and the vascular means blood vessel. So any diseases which are affecting your heart or your blood vessel is known by the name cardiovascular diseases. So including in like angina, heart attack, congenital heart disease, stroke, all will be coming under the cardiovascular diseases. Now here you can see the first one is jaundice. Regarding basically in the case of jaundice, you can see that jaundice is actually caused by some kind of block, that is in the case of your body the bile will be produced. Here you can see that this is our all indication of the jaundice. So what happens is that there is a pigment known as bile pigment, and when bile pigment is not normally or processed by your body, this bile will be accumulating in your body, and that will be leading to an yellow colored formation in your skin, in your eyes, generally all over your body. So this is basically an indication of the jaundice. So jaundice is actually a disease caused by the, you can see the yellowish or greenish pigmentation of skin due to higher level of bilirubin. That is what we call by the name jaundice. So it is basically, you can see that when there is some kind of problem with your liver functioning, liver is actually the organ which is producing the bile, and the prevalence of normally this jaundice is not primarily a disease itself, it is actually a symptom, just like fever is a symptom. If some kind of problem is there for your liver, and that liver problems are sometimes exhibited in the form of this jaundice. So jaundice is just a symptom only, not the real disease. So there are different types of diseases are affecting, sometimes it may be very not a very serious, sometimes fatal, like in case of like liver cirrhosis, hepatitis, and sometimes blockage of bile duct, all can cause the this jaundice itself. So depending on what is the cause of the jaundice, we have to, if it is a block, we have to remove the block. If it is some viral disease, we have to treat that. Some bacteria, sometimes hepatitis can be a cause of jaundice. So different factors can be responsible for jaundice. In every case, there is an increase in the amount of bilirubin, and that bilirubin will be causing an yellow colored yellowing of your skin, yellow coloration of your eyes, etc. So that is what is mean by in case of jaundice. Now another is the cerebral thrombosis. Now in case of cerebral thrombosis, actually in case of thrombosis, you can see that it is actually a clot. Thrombosis or is simply a blood clot. Presence of some kind of blood clot in your blood is known by the name thrombosis. It can happen in any part of your body. This clot formation sometimes it can take place in sometimes can take place inside your heart, sometimes in a major blood vessel. Sometimes it happens in your brain, in a blood vessel supplying blood to the brain. Then that can cause severe damage to your brain. So blocking of one blood vessel is actually the thrombosis. Thrombosis is actually blood clot formation. So thrombosis means blood clot. So formation of blood clot in your blood vessel in any part of your body. If it is happening in your brain, we call it as cerebral thrombosis, cerebral venous sinus thrombosis. So normally you can see that this is a blood clot formation, and I will show you some picture if there are thrombosis is there. So in case of thrombosis, you can see that any part of your body can be affected. See, this is how the whole event is taking place. So if there is some block, for example, here you can see that. See, this is a small block, and if this kind of blocks are happening, here also you can see that. So any kind of blood clot formation, here also you can see that. So this kind of blood clot formation in a blood vessel will be blocking the flow of blood, and that will be causing the, see here, this is a case of the blood clot thrombosis. And so these are all minor form of thrombosis. Sometimes the same thing can happen inside a major blood vessel, and that will be leading to fatal consequence. So that is basically what is known. See here how what will be the effect if the thrombosis affecting different part of your body. So here also you can see that. So this is how the thrombosis can cause. This is a part that is affecting your major blood vessel. So thrombosis can cause a lot of problem. Basically, it can cause a blocking of blood to the other part of your body. So that is what is basically a thrombosis. Then another case is arteriosclerosis. And in case of arteriosclerosis, you can see that arteriosclerosis is basically a thickening of your blood vessel. That is, the wall of the blood vessel will be thickening. I will show you some here. This is a very good picture of that. Now here you can see that this is how a normal blood vessel will be appearing. Now there is a fat known by the name cholesterol. If too much cholesterol is present in your body, what will be the effect is that this cholesterol or fat particle will be deposited on the inner side of your blood vessel. When it is deposited on the inner side of your blood vessel, what happens is that the diameter of the blood vessel will be gradually reduced, or blocking of the blood vessel will be taking place, and this event is known by the name plaque formation. Plaque is actually a cholesterol or a fatty particle getting deposited on the inner wall of your blood vessel, and plaque formation will be reducing the lumen. Lumen means this opening or cavity, narrowing or reducing the diameter of the blood vessel cavity or lumen. And if it is completely blocked, when it is partially blocked, the flow of blood will be reduced. When it is completely blocked, no blood can flow. And as a result, what happens is that here you can see that I will show you there is arteriosclerosis is there. And in case of arteriosclerosis, this is what is happening. Arteriosclerosis will lead to a situation in which there will be a blocking. See here you can see that this is how the all event is taking place. So the blood might not be, it won't be able to, it won't be possible for the blood to move across this blockage. So this is known by the name arteriosclerosis, and this kind of blocking. So as a result of the presence of this fat or cholesterol, the diameter, the wall of the blood vessel will become more thicker, and that thickening of the wall of the blood vessel is what we mean by arteriosclerosis. So in case of arteriosclerosis, basically it is due to the formation of cholesterol plaques, and that will be restricting or reducing the flow of blood, and that will be leading to other kinds of problem. If the clot is taking place, then it can lead to stroke if it is happening in the blood. If it is happening in your heart vessel, it can lead to a heart attack. So clot can cause severe, sometimes fatal consequence, and sometimes can result in death or heart attack or stroke, etc. So this is a problem of the arteriosclerosis. Then we have one more, that is a myocardial infarction. So myocardial infarction or acute is basically known as a heart attack, and this happens when blood flow stops to one part of heart, causing damage to the heart muscle. Here also you can see that how myocardial infarction is. So in case of myocardial infarction, basically what we call by the name heart attack. So this is how this is taking place. The blood to certain part of your body will be, see, this is how the things may be taking place. First there will be a block, small cholesterol deposition, and when the cholesterol deposition is too much, here you can see that when it is too much, no blood will be flowing, and the functioning in the heart muscle may not be taking place, and the heart will be stopping working. And this stopping of working of heart muscle is known by the name, is known by the heart attack. So one problem of the myocardial infarction, it can cause damage to your heart muscle, and most of the time it is beginning in the chest pain, and that may travel into shoulder, arm, back, neck and jaw. Here there is a picture. So this is a chest pain. Then it can go to this arms, and also this part of the body can be affected, especially the left part of your shoulder, left part of your face, and left part of your arm. All will be affected, and there will be, and this pain will be gradually increasing. First pain will be beginning here. So those who know, those who have noticed people with heart attack can easily identify that it can be a symptom of heart attack. So this is how the pain will be usually spreading in case of heart attack or a myocardial infarction. Now there can be different reasons why this happening. Sometimes it can be caused by a clot, and which may be due to cocaine. Cocaine can be a person. Then emotional stress, then that can be a reason. Then extreme cold, and there are multiple reasons why heart attack happens in person. So normally we are using electrocardiogram or blood test or coronary angiography to detect the presence of myocardial infarction. Then these are some of the drugs which are normally used for treating this kind of blood tests, which are used in case of this myocardial infarction. Then when there is a myocardial infarction, the people will be giving the aspirin. Aspirin is a fast acting drug. It can improve the outcomes of heart attack to a severe higher level. Then regarding the stroke and few more diseases are there, and about which I think we will be discussing in our next class. Today we will be stopping here.